We're actually getting started right now with the NFL draft. So Michigan had a historic entry into the NFL draft. One of the highest amount of players ever entered into the draft. 13 were actually drafted. But I would argue, even despite that, with the amount of talent that Michigan had, there's going to be some teams getting some serious value on some of these players, like Cornelius Johnson going 7th round. Some of these, like even Chris Jenkins not going 1st round, so not as much, signing bonus money there. With the exception of J.J. McCarthy going 1st round, I think Michigan actually was a little bit undervalued, and so some of these teams are gonna make out pretty well. TJ, what was your take on the draft and where, kind of in general, Michigan players and what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, it started out really strong. I think we had like 7 taken in the first 3 rounds, which was a Michigan record. We had 13 players taken overall, which is a Michigan record. So it was still a good weekend overall. And then, 5th round, it started to slow down. We got nobody taken in the 6th round. And then in the 7th round, we got ourselves a 13. So, I did think we would pull a little bit more. I was surprised to see Barnhart not drafted. Let's see who else. I don't know, there's a couple others, but like all in all, it went well. I think
Trente Jones.
No, I could see why he didn't get drafted, man. I don't know why he didn't come back. He didn't have a lot of reps, I think he's a good offensive tackle though, and I think he's going to be good on a practice squad developmental position for him. But I can understand that one. Josh Wallace, I don't know. I feel like he was a solid corner, 7th round guy, but the truth is this was
Ladarius.
No, Darius got drafted.
He got drafted?
Yeah, he got drafted by the Texans in the 7th round.
Seventh round.
Yes.
Yep. Checking my notes.
Okay.
But, it was a deep draft for corners, so I can understand why Josh Wallace wasn't drafted. But, I mean, all in all, it was a good weekend for us. Unfortunately, we couldn't break Georgia's record. That would have been really sweet. But, I think I think it's a weekend we could still be proud of. I think Michigan can be proud of. And, it's just another badge of honor for Michigan.
Yeah, Ferris.
Yeah. I really thought we were going to break the record. I also thought JJ was going to be in the top 5. So slipping to 10 was a little disappointing there. I think what happens a lot of times is players get graded as a 6th or 7th round, but then if you add up all the players that are in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, it's more than the number of players that can be picked in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. So I think nobody actually does the math on the back end to kind of say, wait a minute, you can't have that many players that are projected 5th, 6th, 7th round because some of them aren't going to make it. So I think it was basically that. It was nice to see Zach Zinter get drafted in the 3rd round. There was a big question mark in terms of the injuries.
Yeah.
So that was really nice.
The Browns needed that that type of player too. Like he's gonna work his ass off for the Browns.
Yeah, absolutely. The Chris Jenkins slipping, and then the other thing is it was interesting. I thought Harbaugh might go Blake Corum, but he ended up going Junior Colson,
right.
And so it was sort of like maybe he needed back-to-back picks there, but he picked one of them, and so that was good. It makes sense. Junior Colson makes sense. So Blake Corum is going to LA, but to the other team in LA. So that's interesting as well.
Yeah. So and we will get to a couple of those. But before we do, kind of high level for you guys, like biggest surprise, whether it's positive, negative, whatever, like biggest surprise for you. And we'll start with with Michigan, like the biggest surprise, and then we'll go with non-Michigan, like any other team. But yeah, for Michigan.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to JJ, and okay. I was pretty confident, that he would go in the top 5.
Yeah,
and I thought that if New England doesn't take him, I thought it was basically 50-50. May or JJ, and they were almost talking themselves into JJ. So they didn't take him. And then I thought at 4, that's where Minnesota would have traded up to, 4 or 5, somewhere in there. That didn't happen. That surprised me. And then I guess tied to that, I'll do the non-JJ thing, Penix. So all of a sudden,
yes,
what is going on with I mean, if you look at it in terms of just need, if you are going to get a quarterback to be the backup to somebody you expect to be the quarterback, your franchise quarterback for at least 4 years, and that's what the GM said, 4 to 5 years, that Penix might have to wait. So that's just crazy. You would think that you'd pick JJ, the player who's 3 years younger, instead of Penix, who's going to be like 28 years old before, he can sort of get started, barring any, whatever injury or something crazy happening, So it was just very weird that Penix picked to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all agree that the Penix pick was like kind of out of nowhere. I didn't, I mean, I know Penix is good. I figured he was a first-round quarterback. I'm not surprised to see JJ slip to 11 and I always felt like Minnesota was the best fit. I think, to be honest, that's the best outcome, period. It couldn't really be any better. I don't think there's a team that's better suited for JJ considering the weapons and the coaching staff they have there. So, I think that's good. But, yeah, I mean, I think the Penix thing, if I was going to throw another surprise, I'm surprised the Lions took 2 corners in a row. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But I didn't see that coming. But, I mean, other than that, I think it kind of went a little as expected. Oh, another surprise. I'll give you one. No defensive players were taken in the first 14 picks.
That's shocking. Yeah.
Yeah, that was nuts. I couldn't believe
that
it. That
was the first time ever.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, one little other side note for Minnesota, they picked JJ and then they picked Dallas Turner. I would have never guessed. I could never imagine without. I mean, they did some maneuvering, but not anything major. That they would be able to get both with basically the original picks that they had, with the slight upgrades. And Dallas Turner and JJ were in probably one of the most iconic plays of Rose Bowl history, where Dallas Turner was crushing JJ. He had to catch that ball one-handed and then make that throw a second later. So that was it's kind of funny that. They got them both, on the same team. Hopefully they don't practice at full tilt against each other. So
Drufus, Washington is an 8-win team without Penix. Well, don't forget, Drufus. It wasn't. Penix had some weapons. A guy named Rome Odunze. He had some serious weapons on that team, and he is good. I mean, we saw him when he was at Indiana. 3 years ago, and he was good. So I think we knew he was going to be something. We just that pick. Colin Cowherd defended it. He said it's insurance, in case anything happens to Kirk Cousins, or maybe he's just not quite as good, and Penix beats him out. Then there's insurance, but then you've got so much dead space there. I mean, that contract, it just didn't make sense to me to take a quarterback. People are saying Green Bay, it happened. Well, Aaron Rodgers was still in his prime, number one. Also, Kirk Cousins hasn't played a snap yet for the Falcons. So the two situations are very different. So yeah, it didn't make any sense to me. I have respect for Penix, but that was a bit high. So I'm with you there. So with Michigan players and kind of some of the best fits, so I think the Vikings had a slam dunk decision with JJ there. Number one, they didn't have to go up to 4 or 5 or 6 to get him, right? They could wait till 10. So with that said, there's not as much urgency where he has to play game 1, right? They could do what they did with Baker Mayfield at the Browns, right? They could have Sam Darnold start 2 or 3 games. JJ can sit, he can learn. Or if JJ beats out Sam Darnold just hands down, JJ starts game one. We'll see, obviously, in the preseason when they light it up and JJ gets a chance to sling it, what could happen. But what do we think about this fit and the weapons and the coach that he has, who's been really good with quarterbacks, O'Connell. So, TJ, what did you think about that one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we could name a better fit. I mean, I think the situation's right. They're a team that's not on the decline. I mean, they're really not. Their offense is strong. Their defense, I mean, it has some holes defensively, but they're not weak. I just think in terms of the best incubator for a young quarterback is Minnesota Vikings, and he got it. So, we'll see what JJ can do with it. I'm looking forward to preseason football and kind of getting our first look at him. Obviously he's in my division now with the Lions, so that'll be interesting. But I'm happy for him, honestly. I think it is his best fit. Lions bias aside, I think it's his best fit.
Yeah, things are going to get really interesting because you've got Caleb there and JJ in the same division with the Lions. So there'll be kind of a natural rivalry between the two young quarterbacks. So that'll be interesting. I want to trademark JJ to JJ. I've been trying to do that for the last couple of weeks.
I think so.
That's good. That's what's going to happen, hopefully. And this is kind of I agree. This is the ideal situation because for JJ, he can be. He can, I know a lot of people say game manager, JJ, whatever, but he can be sort of a game manager-ish, conservative kind of quarterback and get the ball to JJ, use the weapons that they have. And then over time, he can use his speed. He can start throwing on the run. He can start doing some other stuff. It's really, helps now and then grow for later at the same time. And just remember, JJ versus Penix, we are talking about 3 full years. So think of what JJ could be in 3 years, not what he exactly is today.
Yeah, Trepa. Yeah, I'm only saying that, the urgency to play someone if they go number 1 overall versus number 10 overall is different because of the amount of signing bonus money and just the fact that, okay, they're one of the top 1, 2, 3 picks. So I'm just saying that the option is there. Whereas the Bears, they can't sit Caleb Williams for 6 games. They just can't, right? But with this situation, if needed, he could. And Sam Darnold could hit a couple of the early games. But, my guess is that JJ is going to beat out Sam Darnold. I think he's better than Sam Darnold. But I'm just saying that the option's there, if they need it. So in addition to JJ, we've also got so Jim Harbaugh is now, as we know, at the Chargers. I was watching the where he was out with his RV, and the RV looks pretty nice. And then they brought Greg Roman, offensive coordinator, and he had an RV, and his RV looked like a freaking Caesar's Palace in there. I was like, damn, these people are living good right now in these RVs. It was an interesting idea.
Yeah, I'll give you a little RV commentary because I feel like I'm not an RV expert, but I see them all the time in Southern California. It is so funny in Encinitas, California in particular. It's kind of a surfing community, and you've got people who are in these RVs or vans. I think I would call Jim Harbaugh is more of a van. So he's got a van. You've got people with their lawn chairs on top of the RV watching the sunset, blocking the $1 million homes, parallel parking, blocking the $1 million homes right behind them. It's really funny. I go on walks sometimes over there, and I just kind of laugh at what they do. But I would agree that Harbaugh did not have the best RV. So my RV analysis is he probably needs somebody to help him clean that RV up a little bit. So
we need to smash
a cleaning
the
person
series.
Every couple of weeks would probably be a good idea for him. So
we need to smash the numbers analysis on the difference between the RVs, and I'm sure that would blow up YouTube there. But no, it was interesting. But my point is that so Junior Colson went 69 overall. Nice. He went 69 overall, and I thought that that was a great pick. 98 tackles the last 2 seasons with Michigan. Really impressive. And then Cornelius Johnson to round things out at the end there. Jim Harbaugh, I think, did overall very well. And number 5, Joe Alt, that dude is like a man mountain. I don't know if y'all have, if you guys have watched a lot of Notre Dame. I haven't watched a ton of Notre Dame, but that dude is like, he's exactly what they need and exactly like the type of player that Harbaugh would draft early. So what did you think about Jim Harbaugh's draft in general for the Chargers there and Colson and Johnson, TJ?
Well, I thought before the draft, I thought Joe Alt was the pick. I mean, because, and it's so funny because I don't know if you guys are into fantasy football or not. Like I'm into it. Like I'm really into that stuff. So I got a lot of fantasy football people I follow, and they all think Jim Harbaugh is going to like air it out and like be this like aggressive pass heavy offense. And I'm like, that's not Jim Harbaugh at all. He's going to run the rock. So I figured they were going to go offensive line. They're going to invest in the running back situation, be a possession team, focus on defense. So, I mean, you could just see the blueprint, like getting Junior Colson with Jesse Minter's defense. Like you need that guy. You need that quarterback in the middle of your defense. Well, he is that. He knows that defense. That's exactly why they went that route. And, I just think you can see what we saw at Michigan, how he built Michigan. You can see what the foundation he's trying to build with LA. And it's extremely fascinating. At the same time, it's a little heartbreaking because like what could have been, but it is what it is. We're moving forward. So, but yeah, I think he's doing a good job so far. We'll see how it goes though.
Yeah. One little side note, don't underestimate. I mean, the sort of the marketing appeal of Jim Harbaugh. Really, the Chargers are kind of like the Clippers, if you as an analogous to the Rams and Lakers kind of thing. They moved from San Diego, which is 100 miles away or whatever, and there are a lot of San Diego fans that are bitter. But I've talked to one who was like, you know what? I'm kind of still supporting the Chargers now. And I talked to him about Harbaugh, and he's like, yeah, I can kind of get back into it a little bit, So don't underestimate that. I think the owner has made all kinds of missteps in the past, but I think the Chargers are on the right track. I think there's probably more energy with the Chargers than there is with the Rams, right now. We'll see what happens, but that'll be good. One little note about Alt. Can you remind me how many bench reps Corum did versus Alt? I mean, Corum's a much smaller guy, but I think he outdid Alt, right? I think he did 27 bench reps. I don't know what Alt did, but yeah. So
look it up.
That was 32. No.
So anyway,
help us.
it is. I will say that bench
27.
rep thing.
27.
Yeah. So yeah. So okay.
Corum did 30 in practice, but 27.
27. Okay. So Corum did 27. Yeah. I don't think Alt got to that. Arms are longer, so I will admit that might be a little bit easier for somebody who's a shorter. So.
Yeah, we have some very, very interesting comments right now because we have Minnesota Dave, who's obviously a Minnesota Vikings fan. Thank you for the quarterback. And we have we actually have Notre Dame fans every single week in here. And they support not just this show, but we have Notre Dame fans. They support every show. They come into the Mark Rogers main shows. They go into USC. There's a solid Notre Dame crew, and I appreciate them. And D-Rock is mentioning here some of the stats on Alt. Left Notre Dame, 6'7", 321, and he started third on the depth chart. So he had to go up. So that's pretty impressive. And you got to be a tough customer to navigate that.
Now, Harbaugh was criticized for not having not drafting quote unquote a weapon, and I think he referred to offensive linemen as weapons. So that was a good quote that he got from a couple days ago when he drafted him. So
Yeah, he because he believes that offensive linemen are weapons because they, listen, I mean, just look at last year and what we did. I mean, we did 7 lineman sets, 8 lineman sets, right? I mean, versus Penn State, you had like 9 of them out there, a quarterback, a running back. It was insane. And so Jim Harbaugh has that in his repertoire. I don't know if Greg Roman's going to do it quite as to that extreme. But still 6 linemen definitely, and you never know. So yeah, I think it's going to put a lot less pressure on Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert's a great talent, but one thing is I think that due to bad coaching, they required him to basically be Superman. And this way, if they can build a very strong run game around him, then the pressure is going to be off, and then I think that's going to make him better. I think he's going to be a lot more at ease to just do what he does. And this team could be scary next year, like this upcoming season.
I think they're a year away. They got a lot of holes. They got, but they'll be, I mean, they're strong in a lot of areas, but they still have a lot of holes.
That's fair. And then, so Blake Corum to the Rams. So Blake Corum, I thought I agree with you guys. I thought Ferris, I thought he was going to the Chargers, but it looks like the Rams just took him sooner. I think if it got to a certain point and no one had drafted him, the Chargers definitely would have. I think, but probably lower. But Blake Corum to the Rams, I think he could immediately contend for the starting running back position there. What do you guys think?
No. Kyren Williams is no question RB1, but the thing about Kyren Williams is overusage, right? So they were giving him 25 carries a game, man. He was completely they were completely dependent on Kyren Williams. But what's good about Blake Corum, so it's going to be actually a very nice nucleus where Blake Corum's going to get a lot of short yardage and goal line situations, which we all know that's what he excels at. And then I will put money that Corum will not take. Does anyone know who Kyren Williams is? Like, do you guys not know what he did last season? Kyren Williams is like a top 5 back in the NFL right now. If not top 5, he's definitely top 10. So, Corum he'll get short yardage and goal line situation. Corum's a good back though. I mean, I'm not like there's no, you got to understand in the NFL today, dual running back systems are the way. The bell cow running back is a dying breed. There's maybe 4 of them, so teams don't really want to rely on that because running backs get injured so easily. So, Corum will be productive. It's just how productive we'll see. But I think he'll be Sean McVay with Matt Stafford. I mean, listen, the Rams, you want to talk about a team that's going to be dangerous. The Rams are going to be dangerous.
So I will agree that the 2 quarterback system is, or 2 running back system is what's much more prominent today. I think the Lions, in a sense, kind of popularized the concept where everybody was saying, well, wait, you're drafting a running back that early? Don't you already have, what's going on? So I think it makes a lot of sense. This is kind of the opportunity for Corum to kind of ramp up and then also stay healthy. Hopefully that'll happen for him as well. And I think a lot of teams NFL teams did not value running backs, but I think that pendulum swinging the other way where, maybe not, exactly what the Lions did is, literally in the first round, but instead of thinking of a 15-year career, think about the value you can get in 5 or 6 years or, under that first contract. And it could be very high value and it could be relatively early, relatively soon after you draft that running back, right? At least to be a contributor.
Yeah, I kind of think of Hassan Haskins at the Titans. They kind of have used him in various spots as a short yardage. So at the very least, if he doesn't overtake and he's used as a short yardage back, I mean, he's good enough to get, if you need 2 yards, he'll get you 3, 4, 5, maybe more. Now, maybe not quite to the level he did in college because, you're up against, NFL bodies now. but still, I think he'll be able to move the sticks if they need him to.
Well, remember this too.
I like that, Rod.
When you have a serious knee injury, the first year is the hardest. It usually takes a good 2 years to get back to 100%. And we saw towards the end of the season, Blake Corum was starting to get his burst back towards the end.
Yep.
So I do think next season, that's another one. Like, I'm excited to see Blake Corum in some preseason action. Like, that's like preseason football is gonna be really interesting for us Michigan fans because we have so many guys on so many teams. So, I don't know if anyone's seen the charts. We're basically third behind Alabama and Georgia in the last like couple years in the draft. So, hey, it's going good for us, and we'll just have to see how it goes when the season kicks off.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to think when Hutchinson is running in there unblocked, getting JJ. I'm going to be very conflicted in that kind of situation as a as a Michigan and Lions fan. So
yeah, I think it's going to be one of those where you might root for them or not root for them, but just like if they're facing a team you don't care about, then you might root for JJ. But then obviously if the Lions are up against them, then going to root for the Lions. Might be how it goes. But I'll be rooting for JJ. I don't care. I'll be rooting for JJ. I'm not like a super hardcore Lions fan. I'm kind of all over the place in the NFL. So
just a quick little note: Hutchinson's had this gigantic. I don't know if either of you saw it. This gigantic. It wasn't a mural, but it was an ad that was right next to the stage. But ESPN kind of blocked it with their own little graphics of who's getting picked next or whatever. But it was awesome. And I was there in person, but I was part of the 100,000 that didn't get in. 275,000 got in. I was just going to swing by, so I wasn't like super upset about it. But my only regret is I did not take pictures of all the different fan groups. There's probably at least 12 teams represented in about the hour that I was there. That a whole group of fans all dressed up together, ready to go in, that kind of thing. So it was a fun time and crazy in downtown Detroit. There were people trying to charge $120 to park there. I have my little secret spot that I got, but for free. But
Honolulu blue is still blue, Sean. And I know you wanted to mention Sandra still before we get off of NFL, but we do have a super chat here. Minnesota Dave supporting the show. It's not even the Minnesota show. It's a Michigan show, and Minnesota Dave is supporting us anyway, and we appreciate that. Having 13 kids get drafted, is this Michigan's best draft? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I think by 2.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Yep. Best draft, 4th best draft ever in college football. New record for 13 total, new record for most in the first 3 rounds. So it was good for Michigan. It worked out.
Yeah, it's definitely good for PR for Michigan too, for the future. So.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ferris, I know you wanted to touch on Sanders still, and that pick, which, I think they did that he's going to be a real impact player, given what he did in college. But what did you think about that, Ferris?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little worried because he's, quote unquote, not the prototypical size, not the, whatever. But to be picked that early, I was very happy, and I think Washington will be a good fit for him. I think people just, perhaps when he's interviewed and, people just realize, oh my goodness, this is a player at a different level. Arguably top 5, top 3, maybe top 2 defensive players of all time for Michigan. Nobody's going to top Woodson for me, but so great to see him drafted in the 2nd round. Who could have thought that would happen? The beginning of the season, let's put it that way, beginning of this last season. Right. So.
Yeah. Or even beginning of his career, man. I mean, his development at Michigan is the prime example of what you can do at Michigan. I mean, Sanders still literally made himself the best nickel cornerback in the draft. 2 years in a defense.
That 2022 Ohio State play on Stover He needed to put his hands in exactly that spot at exactly that moment, or Cade Stover was going to get a touchdown right there. Like, that was a game, like, momentum changer when they were in Columbus, a play that Michigan needed, and Sanders still went and made the play, notwithstanding all the stuff he did in this past year too.
Yeah, I will say, sports talk in Boston, so many things are going on. You know, the Celtics and the Bruins are in the playoffs, Red Sox playing, all this stuff going on. They specifically mentioned him because he's, at least, from Everett, Massachusetts. They talked about his high school. They were proud of him, you know, being from Massachusetts. They mentioned him. They talked about it for a second on sports radio. So I thought that was pretty cool in the mix of all the other things going on.
Yeah, because Massachusetts isn't a powerhouse state or anything. Although Michigan seems to get some guys out of there. We've been lucky with Massachusetts, but thanks to Don Brown, honestly, he's the one who got the pipeline going there. But
yeah, I want to say Zinter too, right?
Zinter and Cornelius Johnson's from Massachusetts, I think. Quiddy Pay's from like Rhode Island or something like that.
Yeah, even one of our resident Buckeyes said that Sanders Still and Mason Graham are players that he liked. So, I mean, even Buckeyes like this guy. So
I've heard that from a lot of rivals. A lot of rivals seem to respect Sanders Still.
Absolutely.
I mean, how can you not, man? He's a dog.